Conrad, we're going to answer this question of whether or not your associates at your firm should be involved in the marketing. Why don't you tease that out? Is that a good idea, a bad idea, issues with that? Tell us your experiences with associates being involved with firm marketing.
So this is a comment that we get occasionally. It's not the starting point of lots of our conversations, but this comes up with most of our long-term clients on a regular basis. And I think by and large, my perspective here, Gyi, I think the best way to look at this is to move outside of the legal industry, which I think is a really healthy thing to do, and move into the medical industry and think about the way that those service-based professionals who are very much like lawyers go about marketing themselves. And the answer is most of them don't. And I think there is a good reason for that. Most of the people who went to medical school want to spend most of their time doctoring. Most of the people who went to law school want to spend most of their time lawyering. And I think that's okay. Now, there are, of course, exceptions to that rule. But by and large, I think a couple things are true. Number one, a law firm is most effectively marketed by a person, not by a group of persons, but by a person, because it is easier to build an awareness and affinity of a person over a group of persons or even the law firm brand itself. So I think that is a very true thing. The other thing that happens is most lawyers, they're just not into the marketing side of what we do. And the lawyers who are outside of that tend to move into the CEO role, the visionary role in US parlance, and kind of that figurehead role. And I think that is the most efficient way for a law firm to market. Now, there are exceptions to this, which I suspect you're thinking about that. But Gyi, do you agree overall? You want to share some of your exceptions?
Well, it's I guess I'm going to say I don't agree as worded, but I think we ultimately
Okay.
will come to agreement.
Okay.
Look, here's an obvious one. You even said it yourself. You're like, it's easier to market. Law firms getting marketed as a person, not a group of people. Okay, so, but what you're saying though is that there is a person there, and that person probably is the face of the firm in some capacity. That person has to be involved in content production. If you're going to record a video, you're not going to, unless you're going to use AI to create an avatar of them. They've got to be involved in that. If they're going to be speaking, if they're going to be at local events, all the things that we would do to market somebody, and it's probably a lawyer. It's probably, to your point, maybe you're making this point too. It's probably not just an associate at the firm. It's probably one of the firm owners or a partner. Does it have to be a lawyer? Not necessarily. I think there are some personalities at some firms that can become the face of the firm that aren't actually the practicing lawyers. There might be some reasons to choose to do that. But to me, it comes down to like, it's not should associates be involved. It's what should people be doing. And I'm gonna give you the example of what they shouldn't be doing. In fact, this is maybe this is a future segment of ours from the Attorney Sync Slack archives. This is, you know, I'm looking at Slack and I'm seeing, we've got a client who's going into the paid search campaign and adding and doing things to keywords and stuff. Is that something the associates should be doing? I would say no, because in this particular case, it looks like they started bidding on a bunch of queries that were totally irrelevant and created waste and all that kind of stuff.
Broad match
So
lawyer.
should lawyers be doing that? Especially when they're paying another expert to actually be the company that they trust to manage that? I would say no, they shouldn't be doing that. I think they play a role. It's just like, what role should they play? And really that should be based on their expertise. So I agree with you on the lawyers should not be messing around with the stuff that they don't know about.
So it's interesting that you brought up the anecdote about associates being involved in pay-per-click campaigns. That's super, super tactical. I want to hit that, and then I want to talk about associates in general. I, I do think there is and we have very recently had this issue, and I don't want to even call it an issue because it sounds like a bad thing. You may have someone at your law firm who wants to get deep into this stuff, right? And or you may want someone at the law firm to get deep into, like, how are we what's going on with our pay-per-click campaign. Now, there's two ways to do this. One is, I don't think my agency is doing a good job, or I'm trying to do it myself. But I think if you, in your case, Gyi, if you have a client who's starting to do bidding on keywords, the answer to that is you need to start on the same side of the table. That needs to be a joint conversation. Like, we're working as a team, we're on the same side of the table. Hey, client or agency, like, let's look at this. I think that's super, super healthy. And I think the more that if we have a client who wants to get that tactical, we've got to have the mindset and the framework to be on the same side of the desk instead of oppositional. That has to happen. So I think that's a very real thing, working with your agency. But I wanted to ask you a question. We were talking about kind of the face of the law firm, and you said associates. I think one of the problems with having an associate as a face of a law firm, even a minor face of the law firm, they can leave. Right.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. So I think it's
Google
actually
business
dangerous.
profile practitioner pages, right?
Bingo.
They take it with you. Take them with
Okay,
them.
so hold on. You're exactly right. Hey, Gyi, what is a Google business profile practitioner page, and why did you say that is a bad idea for an associate?
Yeah, so if you don't have this clearly spelled out in whether if it's going to be an employment agreement or if you're treating your lawyers that work at your firm as independent contractors, whatever that is, or maybe it's your employee handbook, but Google, as many people know, you can have a Google business profile for every office location, and you can have a profile for every individual practitioner, so every individual lawyer. And so if you've got associates creating Google business profiles, and the firm's model is that the firm does a lot of marketing, and then they assign a lawyer, and the lawyer works the case. And then the lawyer is an ambitious young lawyer, and they encourage the happy client to go leave a review on the Google business profile for their practitioner page. There's nothing to say that when that lawyer leaves that they take that practitioner page and all those reviews with them if they leave. And so you're essentially, the equity that you're investing into your firm is now being passed on to your associates, that, there's no equity being built up into the actual organization necessarily.
So the reviews that you are paying someone to generate, sorry, that sounds wrong. Hold on. Let me
make sure you buy those fake
up.
reviews for your main office location.
Let me try to be more clear in my speech. While you're paying someone a salary to do great lawyering work, and that salary is generating a bunch of great reviews, if those reviews go to a practitioner page, that is an asset that is going to leave when that person leaves. That is a big, big problem. If you are an associate planning to leave your law firm, that's a great way to start getting a jump start on the way out the door. If you are a law firm owner, I would 100% not have associates do that.
Totally.
Let me flip the coin here. We've been talking about the no on the associate being involved in marketing. I'll make one caveat to that. I do think it is very important for each associate to be responsible for thinking about name search. And the reason that and by name search, I mean Murphy Jones lawyer, Athens, Georgia, for example, or whatever that might be. What shows up when someone looks for that individual lawyer's name? And the reasoning is obvious. There's a lot of vetting that happens via name search once you've been introduced to a client, right? And so I think that is really important. And name search becomes interesting because there's different platforms. LinkedIn is the most obvious one, but Avvo, I spent a ton of my early career learning how to win name search for lawyer names at Avvo. There's lots of different directories that are focused on name search. Forbes, if you would like to enrage Gyi, we can talk about Forbes again. The other thing with name search is it's very different. Gyi and I have very unique names. It's easy for us, for better or worse, to rank for our name. If your name is Thomas Brady, the attorney, as opposed to the quarterback, you have a name search problem. and it needs to be thought about differently. So, I would say that I would want someone at the firm to be thinking about name search for each attorney and really involving the attorneys individually in winning that specific part of the SEO game.
Yeah. You know, the other thing that you said earlier that really hit me, and I think it's a root part of this conversation, is this idea of being an adversary with your marketing people. And this doesn't necessarily cut just in-house versus agency. You know, we hear this all the time from internal marketing people, and we've done the the diary from the in-house marketing director, that of like, what have you done for me lately? And I get that we should all be thinking about accountability metrics and holding each other accountable as a team, whether that's in-house people, whether that's other associates at the firm, whether it's agency partners. And I get that lawyers by profession are adversarial. It's an adversarial system. And so I get that that's how lawyers come to the table. I'm a lawyer myself. I was very proud of my mock trial skills. And but the point is that how many times do we come to the table and even during intake, even when we're doing intake with a client, we'll be like, hey, you know what, can you share what your goals are for the coming year? No, why would I? You tell me what my goals should be. It's like when you are an adversary at every step of the way, if you're looking for a reason, if you're, we found something in the footer, we found a link in the footer. Stop everything. Everybody stop. Shut down the marketing because we found a broken link in a footer in a blog post that was written, 5 years ago. And it's like, you're not coming to the table as a true partner. And the truth is, and we hear this from the, a lot of the fractional CMOs talk about this too, where it's like, because they feel like they're kind of on the outside, even though they're trying to embed with the team. And again, I'm not saying not to hold people accountable, but coming to the table as an adversary, you're just hurting yourself. The partnership here, it's like any sports team or organization. If you're like looking for reasons to blame another teammate or looking for reasons, and believe me, as Conrad and I, if you've been listening to us for any amount of time, you know how cynical and skeptical we are about the legal marketing agency and legal marketers. And it's not just the industry, right? Go ahead.
It's funny you said the footer, the link in the footer. What I thought you were going to go down the path of was like, if that link in the footer links back to your competitors, maybe you should shut it down. Because
Right.
and I know this sounds absolutely fucking absurd. Have no doubt that
There's
there are
our
law
F-bomb
firms
for the week.
that have spun off agencies that are using the agency as a link building vehicle with hidden links on that client list going back to a law firm. Don't think that doesn't happen, right? So that's a good reason to be cautious, nervous about getting on the same side of the table as your agency. But if you're not willing to do that, if it's an adversarial approach, like, you're never going to win. It's just not going to work.
Well, and again, this is what we keep talking about at the end of the day, and people don't like to hear this, but it should resonate with lawyers because it's really the same thing that they deal with their own clients, which is it's a matter of trust. Like, you're hiring, whether it's an in-house marketing person, whether and a lot of lawyers do this because, again, they're like, we want to have our cake and eat it too. So they hire an associate lawyer. Maybe they have a marketing background. Maybe they came from a marketing world. Maybe they, took a Coursera course on marketing, or, they read an SEO Moz, or not just Moz blog post. And so they're the most knowledgeable marketing person at the firm. And they hire him. Part of the reason they hire him is because, like, yeah, you're going to practice law, but you're also going to do some of the marketing. And then everything becomes this adversarial, like, fight about everything. And you're like, it's like having a client and the client coming to you and being like, I'm going to write the brief this time for the motion for summary. It's like, what? Really? And you'd think that stuff would resonate, but we see it happen all over and over again. And so, again, I hope this doesn't come across as being like, just trust your marketing people. No, hold them accountable. We talk about this all the time, define success. But at some level, if you don't have the trust, you're going to be nitpicking every single little thing. It's only going to hurt you. You're paying for expertise and then not following the expertise instruction. It's like going to the doctor and the doctor's like, You got to change your diet. And you're like, no, tell me something else. It's like, no, the doctor's telling you what to do. You're trying to fight the doctor.
All right, I will give you a litmus test on whether or not your agency and you are sitting on the same side of the table. I know we were talking about associates. That's the point of this conversation, but we've kind of devolved into working well with an agency. It's December 23, if you're listening to this the day it comes out. Did you and your agency sit down and talk about what you're going to do in 2025? What your business objectives are
you're
gonna
so agency guy, and so am I. You should have that conversation with the people at your firm. If you have in-house marketing people, it's not an agency. It's not an in-house, out-of-house thing. It's a great litmus test.
Sure.
But that applies just as much to the in-house team.
Money makes a it makes a world go round. Money makes a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round. Money makes a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round. Money makes a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round.